Everyone thinks the season ends after Pumpkin Fest, but for me, this is when it actually gets interesting, because now I get to see what's been happening beneath the soil these past 6 months. One cold night of frost officially ended my growing season. I still had a few fruit on the vine, but the frost stopped them short of their potential. When I harvested them, my field pumpkin weighed 76 pounds, my marrow 45 pounds, and my long gourd just over 10 feet at 123.5 inches. I put them out front for the neighbors to enjoy, and I've got the bushel gourd and long gourds raised off the ground to dry, hoping to preserve them forever. Before I could start cleanup, I needed to remove the mill fabric and sand that all my fruit sat on. This setup provides good drainage for the pumpkins and marrows, and I reuse it every year. Any clean sand goes back into buckets and stored in the garage for winter. The mill fabric gets hosed off, along with the weed fabric, walking boards, T-posts, clear plastic, and the rest of the patch gear. Once that was done, I started pulling up plants to inspect what was left. My pumpkin plants were in rough shape. The vines were rotted, and the crown completely disintegrated when I tried to lift it. That's classic fungal damage, likely Pythium or Fusarium. Both are in my soil, but are usually controlled by beneficial microbes and other defensive measures. Unfortunately, earlier in the season, I over-fertilized, which raised the EC, aka salt content, of the soil. The plants stunted and the fruit began aborting, so I tried to correct it by overwatering to flush the salts out, but that excess moisture created ideal conditions for the fungi to take over. The marrows, on the other hand, told a different story. They were grown in another part of my property, and the difference was obvious. Their crowns and main vines were thicker than the giant pumpkins, the roots were abundant and strong, and they were still spreading under the weed fabric. It's no surprise, my marrows were the one thing that went right this year. With the plants pulled, it was time to tackle the weeds. I had plenty of them. Beautiful ones, actually. They came up easily, and about 80% through, I finally identified them as chickweed. A Google search taught me that chickweed can actually be used as a cover crop since it's cold tolerant, but it also keeps the soil too cold and damp in the spring, and it can attract pests like cutworms. So I pulled the rest out. The weeds went to the compost pile, and the diseased pumpkin plants got burned. After removing the accidental cover crop that was already established, I planted the one I actually wanted, winter rye. It germinates in cold temperatures, which is exactly what we have in Maine right now. I inoculated the winter rye seeds with some beneficial microbes that another grower gave me. They're a few years old and probably expired, but I'm betting there's still some life in them. With luck, they'll help rebuild my soil's microbial network and restore balance before next season. Before wrapping up for good, I collected seeds from my long gourd that was still on the vine, a controlled pollination. I'll save them for next year and share them with other growers. The patch looks quiet now, but next year's champions start here, one handful of soil at a time.